So let's talk about what exactly any of you understand when you use your browser. You type in any web address. Any one of you understand what exactly happened when you provide the address and hit enter? So how you get the website page on your devices, whatever you're using, a laptop or iPad. तो जब भी आप कभी अपना www.facebook.com अगर आप करते हैं, उसके बाद एंटर करते हैं तो जो पेज फैच होता है आपकी ब्राउज़र में, उसका प्रोसेस किसी को पता है कि बिहाइंड द सीन क्या चलता है?
सर आई कैन ट्राई टू बिट समराइज कि एक्चुअली क्या होता है व्हेन वी टाइप अ यूआरएल कोड. तो बेसिकली जो वेबसाइट होती है, पहली बात कि जो डोमेन होता है किसी भी वेबसाइट का, वो एक परचेज डोमेन होता है, और जो वेबसाइट क्रिएट की जाती है वो एक सर्वर के ऊपर होती है. तो जब हम बेसिकली यूआरएल जब हम टाइप करते हैं तो हमें जो इंटरनेट होता है वो रीडायरेक्ट कर देता है उस सर्वर पे जहाँ पे वो वेबसाइट होती है, जहाँ पे सारे कंटेंट्स होते हैं.
जबरदस्त. Anybody else want to explain more than that?
I can try.
Okay.
So we have 4 layers of the internet. The first layer is the application layer, जो कि हमारे front पे होती है, जहाँ पे हम अपना address type करते हैं. Then our request goes back, आपके TCP and IP protocols होते हैं. IP जो है वो guide करता है कि कहाँ actually request लेके जानी है. फिर वो प्रोसीजर्स होते हैं कि वो ISP और से गुजर के फिर जिस सर्वर पे आपने रिक्वेस्ट किया उस सर्वर पे वो रिक्वेस्ट करता है, और वो फिर देखते हैं कि आप उनकी सर्टिफाइड, मतलब उनकी ऑडियंस है, आर यू अलाउड टू व्यू दिस पेज और नॉट, उस हिसाब से आपको अलाउ करते हैं. एंड देन दे सेंड बैक द व्हाटएवर यू रिक्वेस्टेड थ्रू अगेन द 4 layers.
ओके, वेरी गुड. मैंने इसको सिंप्लीफाई करने की कोशिश की है द पीपल हु डोंट नाउ कि क्या है इसके बिहाइंड, कैसे मैकेनिज़्म काम करता है इसके अंदर. जब फॉर एग्जांपल आप लिखते हैं www.facebook.com, इसके अंदर डोमेन नेम कौन सा और उसका क्या लेवल है उस डोमेन का. मतलब .com कौन सा है, फेसबुक का क्या मतलब है, और www का क्या मतलब है. सो आई एम जस्ट ट्राइंग टू सिंप्लीफाई एज मच एज आई कैन. सो सबसे पहले तो आपको देखना है कि DNS है क्या. DNS जस्ट लाइक ए फ़ोन बुक. फ़ोन बुक के अंदर क्या है कि यू आर गोइंग टू फाइंड द नेम ऑफ अ पर्सन. जब उसका नाम आपको ढूंढ लेंगे, लेट्स से आई फाइंड ज़ोहेब, राइट. सो आई विल लुक अंडर दिस जेड पेज के अंदर जितने भी जेड से नाम शुरू होते हैं अल्फ़ाबेटिकली, तो उसमें देखूंगा एक जगह लिखा होगा ज़ोहेब तनवीर, राइट. In front of that, they have given the Zohaib Tanveer's phone number. Exactly, this is DNS. DNS actually you use the user-friendly name. So human-friendly name का मतलब है कि आप लोग याद रख सकें उस नाम को. आप if I give you IP address, अब आप देखें बहुत सारे लोग हैं जो उन्होंने अपने कॉन्टैक्ट बनाए होते हैं फ़ोन के अंदर, उसमें लिखा हुआ है फ़लाँ फ़ोन नंबर फ़लाँ बंदे का, फ़लाँ फ़ोन नंबर फ़लाँ बंदे का. इट्स ईजी टू रिमेंबर द नेम, ह्यूमन नेम, रादर दैन द फ़ोन नंबर. मुझे नहीं याद रहते. कई लोग दे आर वेरी गुड एट मेमोराइजिंग द फ़ोन नंबर्स. तो ये ह्यूमन साइकोलॉजी के बिल्कुल साथ मिलता हुआ एक चीज़ है कि दे गिव द वेबसाइट अ ह्यूमन फ्रेंडली नेम. But the DNS, what the DNS does, when you type in the human-friendly name in the browser, so when you hit enter, so there are somewhere. Sorry, आज मेरा गला थोड़ा सा. So somewhere there is a system called DNS server. So DNS server take this human-friendly name and convert that name into the IP address. Because all the devices on the internet, they don't understand this human-friendly name. They are identify each other with the IP addresses. So each devices which working on the internet or local network or like enterprise network, every device is given IP addresses. So these machines, this system find each other by using the IP addresses. But before getting to that level, they have to translate the human-friendly name into a IP address. This is how the DNS works. So DNS the only just like a phone book. It has all the record of the human-friendly name, and then next to that is they have IP address attached to that human-friendly name. So for example, यहाँ पे example दी है कि इंटरनेट जो bizveria.com का जो है ना वो ये IP address है, लेकिन जब मैं ये the internet IP address of your website is like your phone book, your phone number. So all, as I said, every devices on the network, they are using two kind of IP address. They are using IPv4 and IPv. Oh, it should be V. IPv4 and IPv6. So what happened? पहले तो सिर्फ इंटरनेट लोग यूज़ कर रहे थे, and they were using the IPv4. IPv4 is like a 4-digit address, like 32, जैसे कि ये 162. 242 and 197 all together they call it 32 bits. तो इस तरह से ये you don't need to actually know कि 32 bits or 64 bits. This is just each of these 162. All these are, if I give them a value 255, 255, 255, all together is going to be 232 bits. So computer actually understand bits and bytes. So ये वो डिफरेंट एरिया टोटली. लेकिन आप याद रखो कि IPv4 जो है ना वो 32 बिट्स होता है. IPv6 इज़ लाइक 128 बिट्स. सो एन IP एड्रेस इज ए नेटवर्क एड्रेसेबल लोकेशन, कि कोई भी लोकेशन है. फॉर एग्जांपल अगर आपका फ़ोन है तो आपके फ़ोन को उन्होंने एक नंबर असाइन किया हुआ है जो कि आपका फ़ोन नंबर है. उसके बाद आपका एक होता है हार्डवेयर एड्रेस. एवरी मशीन हैज़ ए हार्डवेयर एड्रेस, जिसे मैक एड्रेस भी कहते हैं. तो ये जो आप देखते हैं कि फ़लाँ बंदे का उसका लोकेशन ट्रेस हो गई है, वो किस तरह से ट्रेस होती है कि उसका जिसका फ़ोन नंबर है वो किसी टावर के साथ लिंक्ड होता है. तो वो उसको उस नंबर, थिंक अबाउट दिस इज़ वेरी सिमिलर टू द IP एड्रेस. देन दिस इज़ हाउ दे आइडेंटिफाइड कि इस वक्त फ़लाँ टाइम पे आपने फ़लाँ जगह पे थे और आपका कनेक्शन जो था वो फ़लाँ टावर से था उस वक्त. तो दैट्स गोइंग टू आइडेंटिफाई योर लोकेशन ऑन दैट पर्टिकुलर स्पॉट एट दैट गिवन टाइम. So IPv4 consists of 4 sets of numbers separated by a dot, like 111 and 222, and these are. So with each set having up to 3 digits, for example, is like this, an IPv4 IP address. With DNS, we map a name to that address so that you do not have to remember a complicated set of numbers for each place you want to visit on a network. So as I explained, so always you will be the machine, and anything you can think of, even CCTV camera जो इस वक्त लगे हुए हैं, they also have IP addresses. This is how they are communicating with the, जैसे वो कहते हैं अभी इंग्लैंड के अंदर जितने भी कैमराज हैं, they are on IP. उसको कहते हैं IoT, इंटरनेट ऑन थिंग. इंटरनेट ऑन थिंग का मतलब है कि एनी डिवाइसेस विच इज़ कॉल्ड IoT, दैट मीन दैट डिवाइस हैज़ ए IP एड्रेस. सो दिस इज़ हाउ दे आर कम्युनिकेटिंग विद देयर सेंट्रल ऑफिस. So IPv space is 32-bit field and has over 4 billion different addresses. So 4 billion, अभी देखें आप दुनिया में जो लोग इस वक्त कंप्यूटर यूज़ कर रहे हैं वो तो 4 बिलियन से बहुत ज़्यादा हैं, क्योंकि इंटरनेट सिर्फ लोग ही नहीं यूज़ कर रहे, डिवाइसेस यूज़ कर रही हैं. तो क्या हुआ कि जब उन्होंने इनिशियली स्टार्ट किया इंटरनेट को तो उस वक्त IPv4 था, और उनको नहीं अंदाज़ा था कि ये भी टाइम आएगा कि आपकी जो फ्रिज है वो भी IP एड्रेस के ऊपर होगी, आपका यानी कि गराज भी IP एड्रेस के ऊपर, आपकी होम अप्लाइंसेस जो हैं जिसके अंदर आप यू कैन थर्मोस्टेट है वो भी IP एड्रेस को उसको वो भी आप वाईफाई से या रिमोटली कंट्रोल करेंगे. थिंक अबाउट, यू कैन थिंक लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स आर हैपनिंग राइट नाउ. मतलब मेरे घर का टेम्परेचर है, मैं मेरी घर से बाहर होते तो हमें पता होता है कि इसको, बल्कि अब तो टाइमिंग भी यू कैन स्केड्यूल एक्चुअली कि सुबह के वक्त मुझे इतना टेम्परेचर चाहिए घर में, दोपहर को इतना चाहिए, रात को इतना चाहिए. यू कैन डू दिस एज वेल. बट इफ़ सम हाउ यू फॉरगेट टू डू दैट, आप दुनिया में कहीं भी, मैं लाहौर में बैठ के अपने कनाडा वाले घर का टेम्परेचर कंट्रोल कर सकता हूँ. सो this is what happening. So more devices are being available on the internet, and each devices need the IP address. The solution of this problem was this. They came up with the IPv6, and IPv6 was created to solve the depletion issue of the IPv4. So this has 122 bits, or which allow for this number, I cannot even see, called undecillion unique addresses. Even they don't have a word to describe how many numbers, how many IP addresses they have in 122 bits. So they give not trillion, but petabillion, or what they call undecillion. So for human being this number is difficult to imagine. तो वो कहते हैं कि इसको ऐसे देखेंगे, IPv6 address were 1 grain of sand. You would have enough sand to equal the approximate side of the sun. जितना सूरज का, जितना बड़ा सूरज है वो उसका जो रकबा है, उसको क्या कहते हैं, एरिया है, उस अगर पूरे सूरज पे अगर आप यानी कि सैंड हो तो तब उसकी अप्रॉक्सिमिटी बनती है उसके साइज़ की. इतने IP एड्रेस अब अवेलेबल हैं. इन फ्यूचर बिकॉज लॉट ऑफ ऑटोनमस कार विल बी ऑन द रोड. Each and every car, they have a different sensor installed in those car. For example, एक गाड़ी है उसके अंदर 500 सेंसर लगे हैं, 1000 सेंसर लगे हैं, and each sensor is communicating. So what that means, हर सेंसर का अलग से IP एड्रेस होगा. Think about that. So that's this, they just give analogy कि how many numbers are going to be available under the IPv6. So this is the baseline understanding. DNS use a hierarchical name structure, and different level in hierarchy are each separated with a dot. So Facebook is the one, and then dot, and then com. So these are 3 different domains. For human, you don't even think about that. This is www.facebook.com, but in reality, behind the scene, the physical location of these 3 servers are different. So let me show you that. Consider the domain name www.amazon.com and AWS.amazon.com. In both example, com is the top level domain. So we call TLD. The top level domain is com, education, edu, .net, .uk, .ca. So these are the top level domain. And Amazon is the second level domain. So this Amazon is called second level domain. So top level and the second level. So these are the some names: top level domain, com, edu, gov, co, uk, gov.uk, and com.au. AU for Australia. There can be any number of lower level. For example, www and AWS below the second level domain. So when you say www, so www is going to be another domain, which is going to fall under the second level domain. So if you see this name, so this is top level, this is second level, and this is the below the second level. So here say below the SLD. So DNS translate human readable name into the IP address. Okay. The top level domains are controlled by the Internet Corporation of assigned name and numbers. So this is called ICANN. This is the authority which actually is responsible for maintenance and maintaining these high top level domains. And you can visit their website. And they have a database actually. In that database, which is like if you go to this website and then say DB, you can see the top level domains database. Domains are registered with the Network Information Center. Then there's another authority. When you buy any domain name, and you go GoDaddy.com or any other like Google, they are also selling the domain names. You can buy the domain name, and that domain name are going to be registered with the NIC, which is Network Information Center. Each and every domain name in the world is automatically going to be registered with NIC. Each domain name becomes registered in a central database known as the Whois. If I go to any website, so I say Whois. So I provide here a domain name. For example, I say who's domain search. So it's going to give you information. It says Bavaria.com, this. It's go to, I bought it from this one. And then it's giving me URL and all the information about relevant. So see, I live in Canada. It's country Canada, province this. You can get all the information. So you can use this Whois database, and you can put any domain name, and it will give all the information, who's the owner and when it was registered, and all kind of information. So the other things called domain name system, I have given the breakdown here. And this, you see, when you use HTTPS, so HTTPS represent the protocol. If you have like a secure website, you have implemented SSL, so then you will have a SB next to the HTTP, and then you have a subdomain. www dot is subdomain, and then the domain name, actual name. For example, Bavaria is the actual domain name, but before, if I have a www, that is a subdomain, and then you have a .com top level domain. And when you see path like this slash, and then you have like a file name or something, so after the slash you see that is the path to the specific file and folder in the website. So if you see HTML or like Java or something, so that is file extension. What type of file is this? And then you have a parameters and other values of that relevant to that file. So protocol subdomain DNS works in a hierarchical manner and allow a large domain to be partitioned or extended into multiple subdomain. So see, for you, this is the whole thing up to this level, up to com, but it has been partitioned 1, 2, and 3 level. Domain name, top level domain, path and file with extension, and the parameters. So other terminology is used called fully qualified domain name, FQDN. So like in this, you see the whole thing is called domain name up to this level. When they had actually breakdown in when the last dot is called the root, .com is top level domain, Amazon second level domain, and then there is AWS and API falls under the second level domain, subdomain. So API is like this, you are running any application and you have a different server. The API mean a different server. AWS is another server. So these are two different machines. We also call them a host. So AWS is host and API is host. So you have a host sitting in the API. Actual application is there, but they have a subdomain AWS, and then they have Amazon is a second level domain, and then to have a top level domain. This is how they define this fully qualified domain name. So any question? Okay. So a fully qualified name, also referred to absolute domain name, specifies a domain location in the relation to the absolute root. So मैंने इसको सिंप्लीफाई करने के लिए एग्जांपल एक बनाई है, वो उसमें ये है कि लेट्स सी यू आर लाइक अली इज टॉकिंग टू हिज ब्रदर एट होम एंड ही से आई वांट टू विजिट फैसल मॉस्क. सो ही आस्क हिज ब्रदर के डू यू नो हाई कि मैं कैसे, मुझे फैसल मॉस्क देखने जाना है, मैं कैसे जाऊँ. सो इफ़ हिज ब्रदर नोज कि if his brother has been he has visited actually the Faisal Mosque, so he can tell him how to go there. ठीक है ना, ये घर में बात कर रहा अपने भाई के साथ, तो उसने बता दिया, तो then he'll go take the advice from him and he go to visit Faisal Mosque. What if his nobody, no family member know anything about the Faisal Mosque, they have never been there, then the second option he has, he going to ask somebody in the neighborhood. कोई बंदा उसका कोई जानने वाला, वो उससे पूछेगा कि अच्छा ये बताओ कि मुझे फैसल मास्क जाना है, तुम कभी गए हो, मुझे बताओ कैसे जाना है. If he has an answer, the neighbor has an answer, he has visited फैसल मास्क, so he going to tell Ali कि कैसे जाना, कहाँ से बस लेनी है और कैसे वहाँ पहुँचना. So in other scenario, maybe he doesn't know anything. तो उस सिचुएशन में क्या होगा कि नेबर कहता है कि ठीक है मैं तो नहीं कभी गया, लेकिन मेरा एक दोस्त है उसको पता है, वो गया था, तो मुझसे पूछ लो. देन ही गोइंग टू रेफर अली टू द अदर पर्सन, लेट्स नेम हर लाइक सूजी. सो सूजी नाउ लिटिल बिट अबाउट फैसल मास्क. तो अली जो है वो सूजी के पास जाएगा, उस सेम क्वेश्चन कि आई वॉन्ट टू गो टू फैसल मास्क, हाउ आई कैन गेट देयर. सूजी कहती मैंने फैसल मास्क तो नहीं देखी, लेकिन ये है कि मुझे पता है कि वो इस्लामाबाद में है. तो शी इज़ गोइंग टू टेल यू हैव टू गो टू इस्लामाबाद फर्स्ट. सो नाउ अली गोज टू द बस स्टेशन, शी टेल वेयर ही कैन टेक अ बस एंड ही गोज टू द बस स्टेशन एंड ही बाय अ टिकट एंड देन ही अराइव्ड इन द इस्लामाबाद. अब इस्लामाबाद पहुंच गया, लेकिन अभी तक अली ये डजंट नाउ द लोकेशन, एग्जैक्ट लोकेशन ऑफ द फैसल मॉस्क. सो नाउ ही गोइंग टू आस्क समबडी एल्स इन इस्लामाबाद कि मुझे बताओ कि यहाँ पे फैसल मॉस्क कहाँ पे है. एंड देन फाइनली ही गॉट अ पर्सन हु हैज़ एग्जैक्ट लोकेशन अबाउट वेयर इज़ द मॉस्क इज़. दिस इज़ हाउ अली गोइंग टू अराइव. तो ये एक ह्यूमन फ़्लो मैंने बनाया है इसके लिए कि ताकि आपको जो टेक्निकल फ़्लो है वो समझ आए कि कैसे आप जब टाइप करते हो एनी वेबसाइट, तो हाउ दे आस्क क्वेश्चन टू द नेक्स्ट सिस्टम ऑन दिस इंटरनेट एंड हाउ दैट एड्रेस इज़ रिजॉल्व्ड. सो लेट्स सी इन एक्शन. So here is a web server called Bizveria website, and I want to go to the Bizveria website, so I'm giving the address to my browser, and the browser, okay, before I go there, so what happened when I asked this question, when I type the address bizveria.com in my browser. So what's going to happen? If I have ever visited bizveria.com, then this address will be resolved because the complete path is already in my cache. Remember I told you that there is always a cache on the browser in your computer. अगर मैंने ये bizveria को पहले विजिट किया है तो then it's going to be in the cache. Again, in the cache, it depends how much capacity I have. Let's see कि अगर मैंने 6 महीने पहले विजिट किया था, maybe I don't have this address, the complete path to bizveria.com, क्योंकि उस कैपेसिटी थोड़ी है, TTL होता है, time to live, how long this address going to exist in my cache, right? Because it's constantly changing, it's updating, cache is updating of itself. The more recently visited website going to be part of the cache. If I have an older website, it may be deleted. तो सबसे पहले जैसे मैंने मिसाल दी कि घर में किसी से पूछना, सो दिस इज़ घर में मैं पूछ रहा हूँ, आई एम आस्किंग माई ब्राउज़र डू यू नो वेयर इज़ buzzveria.com, and somehow it was a long time ago I visited Buzzveria, so it is not in my cache. So what is the next step? So now my cache is my request is going to pass on to the DNS Resolver. What is DNS Resolver? DNS Resolver is a DNS server sitting in your ISP, Internet Service Provider. आपने जिससे भी इंटरनेट सर्विस ली हुई है उनका अपना DNS सर्वर है. So the request will go to the neighbor. The neighbor means the ISP DNS server resolver. So now we have passed the request to the DNS server resolver and asking the same question. Here the resolver has two options again. Maybe he has information in their DNS file. Then he going to give me exact location of the Buzzveria website. If not, then it going to point me to the next level of server. It's called root name server. Remember I showed you com के आगे एक dot होता है, and that dot is a root name server. So ISP will tell the client, listen, I don't know where is the www.buzzveria is. .com is, but I know there is a system on the web which now the information about this .com, the last part of your domain. So the ISP DNS going to point me to the root name server. So when I go to the root name server, ask the same question. So root name server will look at my request and say, no, I don't know anything about www.buzzveria, but I know where is .com. So he going to send the request back to the ISP server, and ISP server is going to communicate with me that. So next request is going to be for the .com. So now the refresh request is going to the name server because I know the last part of the domain and where is location. So now the request is going to the .com. So I have the same question. Do you know where www.buzzveria. Now I know the .com. Where is www.buzzveria? So again, same process going to be repeated. Is saying no, I don't know, but I know the name server who has this information. I don't have, but I know the name server who has this information, and that happened to be a Route 53 name server. So the .com going to send me the information. Now the question is, how does .com name server know where is the buzzveria.com, and how does it know where is a name server for the buzzveria.com is? They know because when you register your website, you have given the name who is going to be your DNS server provider. So when you register, is automatically on your behalf. The registrar come like a GoDaddy. You going to tell the GoDaddy, this is my website and I'm going to host this website on such and such internet service provider, for example on AWS, and the AWS using the Route 53. You already given this information to the name server at the time when you register your website. The next thing going to happen, now you know the name server which hold the information about the Buzzveria. So you're going to send the same question to the name server. So once the name server get this question, he say, yes, I know about www.buzzveria, and here is the IP address. Now the name server is giving you the IP address. Once you have this IP address, before actually, how does Route 53 knows the Buzzveria and IP address? Because you have created a hosted zone. जब आप कोई भी वेबसाइट लेते हैं, आप किसी भी वेब होस्टिंग को कंपनी को जाते हैं, when you pick your company like GoDaddy, So then they give you a hosted name. They give you this is your hosted zone, and they will give you the name of the DN server. So now the server where you have registered your Bisvaria, they have the information about your human friendly name and the IP address attached to that. So this information is going to pass on to the ISP resolver again, and the IPS said, okay, I found an answer, and it's going to pass on this information to the client. Once the client has this information, now he has a machine number, the IP address, the machine, how the machine talk. He going to send the request to the web server directly using the IP address. So this is the flow. So as a solution architect, this is too much for you. You don't need to understand now that you know there's a DNS server. DNS server is going to resolve the user human friendly name into IP address, and the behind the scene, the fully qualified domain name are partitioned into a different subdomain, top level domain, second level domain, and the this domain under the sublevel. So this is the flow. I just want to make a complete understanding how the name are resolved. This is going to be help you when you go into the when you start working as a solution architect. You know how the names are resolved. So I will show you demos because the reason I'm showing this because you will be making a decision. मिसाल के तौर पे आगे हमें पॉलिसी पढ़ेंगे कि राउटिंग पॉलिसी क्या होगी. How you going to route your traffic on the basis of what? So and those when you route the traffic, how the name are going to be resolved. So to have that this basic understanding going to help you. So this is another picture how this root server and top link, they are talking to each other, and back and forth they are answering each other, and finally the host name is resolved. So domain name system is a distributed databases. So when you say domain name, so इसका मतलब है कि आप किसी भी ISP में जो इंटरनेट सर्विस प्रोवाइडर्स हैं, हर लेवल के ऊपर ये नहीं है कि कोई एक सर्वर पड़ा हुआ है. They have a lot of servers who are doing the performing this resolution, because think about how many requests going back and forth to sending different kind of web address, and the web address is being resolved. So called the name server is a computer designated to translate. So we call the name server. The name server's job is to resolve the human friendly name into the IP address. That's all you have to remember. And then the root server represents the top level of the DNS hierarchy. There are the DNS servers that contain the complete database of domain names and their corresponding IP address. So this is very simple and straightforward. Local name server is a server. These are also like a cluster of servers sitting in the internet service provider. जो भी आपका local जो service provider होगा, that will have a local name server. So this is again, this is all these name servers are having caches which refresh itself, and they are keep updating their database. So these are the steps I already explained. So this is for your reading how this the requests go to the top level, then the name level, then the resolving server, and the finally zonal file. Zone file is a text file which contain all the name mapping to the IP addresses data. So what is Route 53 overview? So Route DNS is a collection of rules and records with help clients understand how to reach a server through URL. So domain name will have this kind of information. In AWS, the most common records are a URL to IPv4. So IPv4 record, right? The A represent, when you say record, there are different kind of record types. This is a type of record. It's A is a type of record. So this record contain what? IPv4 kind of information. Then you have a record number like with 4A. So 4A is a record represent the URL to IPv6. Then I have Cname. Cname is a URL to URL representation. These are the name of the record. A record, 4A record, Cname record. And then you have an alias. Alias is for example, my website is bizveria.com. I can assign an alias to it like a biz1, something like this, and then I can attach to my website. So rather than I have to type in, if I type in biz1, it again is going to resolve the bizveria.com. So you can assign any alias to your website. So zone files are generally used to configure a single domain, and they can contain number of records that define where resources are for the domain in question. So all the data about the domain and the IP address is a part of this zone files. Record type, each zone file contains records. As I show you, there are different record types, A type, 4 type, Cname. So these kind of records are also part of the zone file. Zone file contain, okay, this is the record name. This kind of record I'm going to restore. I'll show you when I show you the Route 53 what the record actually mean. These can map a domain name to IP address or define resources for the domain. So they can actually give you where the actual resources are. If you are using the mail server for your company, or like a Google or Yahoo Mail, they have their own servers. These servers only serving the email kind of request. So name server, they used by top level domain server to direct traffic to the content DNS server. As I showed you in an example, when you go to the bizveria.com, that has actual content. It has a physical server where my website is hosted. So it is going to direct it it has the information where to direct your traffic to see the content. So that's called the name server. Then A and 4A, both type of address record map a host to an IP address. The A record is used to map a host to IPv4, while the 4A records are used to map the host to IPv6 address. Then there's called SOA record. SOA is start of authority. If I show you, see, I already did this. See, I given the name. Let me do this in. If I type, I say NS lookup. Okay, my wrong spelling. NS look. So see, in this message, say non-authoritative answer. This means when I send the request, this request is not coming from not coming from the DNS server. It's coming, my DNS server could not resolve this. Then he asked another server. So my DNS server is authority server. If I go to my, for example, GoDaddy. So this IP address has not been resolved by the GoDaddy. This is been resolved by the third party, like maybe any name server. It's sitting in my ISP, my internet service provider. They resolve this. If I have it is resolved by the GoDaddy, then you can see here that message would be like authoritative answer. So authoritative answer means the server actually holding the information. They have a zone file, and that is a response is actually responding you back. If that is not responding you back, it's going to ask another server on the internet. So he's going to resolve this name. That is going to be non-authoritative server. So Route 53 is an authoritative server because they actually resolve this. Resolve the user web name by itself. So Cname stands for canonical name, can be used to resolve one domain name to other. For example, you may have a mobile. Yes, this is a good example. You may have a mobile website with the domain name m.bizveria.com. That is used for when user browse to your domain. Lekin you can sometimes people say let's type this mobile.bizveria.com instead of m. So these are the possibilities. If you see that a lot of people they using mobile instead of m, then you can attach one URL like this mobile.bizveria.com to this one. So next time if you type mobile.bizveria.com, it will going to point to the original website. So this is a Cname, URL to URL. So here's an example like in the phone book. If I see, look at this Batman here, and if you see right here, it says C West Adam. It's not giving you a number. It's referring to another page or other record in the list, and that record is West Adam. If you go to West Adam, you will find the phone number for Batman. So here the same thing. When I create the record, this is my domain name. And this is my original, I say m dot and domain name. But I also want to attach mobile to this domain name, then I will provide the value when I create this record. I will show you how to create the record. So when you create the record, you can give this mobile value. So you are telling the system, if somebody type mobile instead of m, again send to the same web server, same website. So as I said, the alias is just you are mapping, you're giving the name to your resources. For in this example, saying if you want to point to any elastic load balancer, CloudFront, or S3 bucket, so you can create an alias, and you can say like you can give just like any name like my website, right? So you can point my website alias is my website is the alias, and you can point to the S3 bucket. So you're going to give the value, you're going to select the S3 bucket. Every time I type my website, is going to point my traffic to the S3 bucket. So this is called alias. So it's almost the same thing. Alias record work like a Cname record, in that you can map one DNS server to another. So in this example, I say www. Oh, there's too many W. Bizveria.com to another target. DNS name is www.bizveria.pk. So I can do this. So all the traffic, if the people typing pk, again this traffic can be directed to bizveria.com website. So start of authority, in the start of authority, these kind of information are provided. You don't need to remember this as a solution architect. All you need to remember, there is a record type which is called SOA, and these are the information are given in SOA. So again, I put the X here. You don't need to remember this. This is not going to be asked you. So I'm going to stop here. if you have any question, because the next part is going to be it's also very lengthy part. In that we will be doing a lot of demos. So I just want to show you some before I leave how it looks like in W3 or not W3, Route 53. See, we were talking about the hosted zone. So DNS management hosting zone. Then they have another feature called traffic. So these are the information you should know as a solution architect. Whatever I show you until now, that is just they have details level understanding of the DNS servers and how the addresses are resolved. So here are these are the actual things you need to know as a solution architect. You can register your domain just like GoDaddy or any other website. So you can use this service. Availability monitoring, you can do the monitoring, you can do the health check as well, right? Traffic management, I will show you some demo on how the traffics are managed. The only problem I have with this kind of demo, I have to buy a host from them, and or I have to migrate my existing website. So I am not going to do this because if I buy, then I have to pay to buy the host, the website, which I don't want to. But I want to show you when you create a website and that falls under the hosted zone. The hosted zone, when I have this website, this is my domain name. This is the domain is publicly available, and this is I created in Route 53. So see, say record count, they have 3 records. So let's see what kind of those records are. So I say review details. See, Buzzvaria.com have a A-type record, simple routing. See, this is routing policing. We will learn what the routing policing is. Then we have Buzzvaria.com NS simple, name server, NS. See, in front of the name server, they have given me these 3 .net, .com, .org. This is by default. When you create any website, when you register any website, your DNS provider going to create these two records. One called NS, another called SOA. So SOA is start of authority record, name server record, and these are the records you create later on. To do this, I have created the alias as well. See the alias. So this is just giving you overview how it's going to. If I want to create a record, let's see, I want to create another record. So I say create record, and these are then I have to provide how I want to route this. So see, there is a simple routing, weighted routing, geolocation routing, latency routing, failover routing, and multi-value answer routing. We will learn all about this in the next class, right? So then you see the value here, TTL, time to live. That's mean how long this information going to stay in the cache. So 300 second mean 5 minutes. So here's the list of the record type. So what kind of record I'm creating? If I'm using the IPv4, then I will select this one. If I'm using IPv6, then I will use this. If I Cname, and there's so many here. So see, you had text, PTR, maps, and IP address to a domain name, and then they have different scenarios. Like you can use if you are using the what you call mail server. So then you can use mail server's record. So these are different way of actually creating the record, and you have to identify what kind of record that's going to be. So we will learn this in the next class tomorrow. So just giving whatever I just mentioned in the theoretical part, I just want to show you how it looks like. What services you can do here, what you cannot. So if you want to start from the beginning. You can buy your domain name. You can transfer. For example, right now I'm hosting my web server from GoDaddy, right? So I want to transfer from GoDaddy to Route 53. I can pick this item. Then you have to create the hosted zone. Once you have your website, then you have to create the hosted zone. If you buy the domain from the AWS, they're going to create the hosting zone for you automatically. See the configuration resolver. So as I said, how the system go back and forth and resolve the host name when you provide the information in the browser. So these are the actually mechanism is showing you. And then you can actually apply, enable health check. So I will show you in what scenario you need to do the health check. Every this scenario is different for the business point of view. For example, if I have a worldwide presence, then I might be using the routing policy, latency routing policy. Maybe I'm using the weighted routing policy. So I will talk about those things tomorrow, and then we're going to see how we configure those kind of policies and how the traffic are being directed to different servers. So if you have any question, please ask me. So do you have...
Yeah, I was just going to ask.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, go on. I was just going to say, so is Route 53 always integrated with Elastic Load Balancer then?
No, but the best practice is this. Because think about it's not an individual server. Think about you are working for enterprise, and the enterprise have a worldwide presence. Once they have worldwide presence, obviously they want a load balancing in front of that. अगर मेरा अपनी वेबसाइट है, मुझे नहीं इतनी ज़रूरत है लोड बैलेंसिंग, वाई आई हैव टू पे फॉर दैट. लेकिन जो बड़ी बड़ी कंपनीज हैं उनके लिए तो डेफिनेटली दे आर गोइंग टू फास्ट थिंक अबाउट द क्लाउड फ्रंट, right? So CloudFront is all over the world. Then you have to balance the traffic. So tomorrow I will show you the things I just show you, like the routing policy, weighted, latency, and simple. Then you will have a more understanding what this DNS is going to do. Before in the elastic load balancing, we are having elastic load balancing in front of the cluster of the EC2. So they are going to control the traffic, right? And on the basis of the request. But here you will be actually everything will be on the web. So here you will be resolving the DNS name of your website. So you have to use the Route 53 every time you send the request. Doesn't matter you have elastic load balancing in front of that or not. So it is going to be resolution going to be play a big role here. So you have a website is sitting in Australia. You have a website in UK, you have a website in Pakistan. So when you are setting this kind of environment, then you might want to have a traffic distributed geolocation routing, or another called geo proximity routing. So those are the other things we will see tomorrow. I don't want to put too much pressure because if I start talking about those kind of policies, it's gonna be too much for you for today. Today, I want you to remember how the DNS name is resolved using different tier of the domain level, top level, sub level, and down level, right? And what a mechanism behind that. What is the name server? What is the zone file? What is the record type? If you remember this, that's good for you. That's all. And tomorrow we're going to go deep dive into this topic, where we're going to see the configuration part, how we're going to have different scenarios, and how we're going to configure our resources. Maybe in one country you have a S3, in other country you have a EC2 instance running, and maybe another country you are running a database as well beside your website. So what kind of scenario we're going to have, and in order to set up a system as a solution architect perspective, what requirement you have to consider in order to design the architect for the customer.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. Anybody else? Sultan, Ali, Maheen, are you okay with this lecture on the DNS?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So, inshallah, tomorrow we will talk about.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, tomorrow we're going to go into deep dive. So see, what I was telling, every time, every topic is a new technology, and every technology, you are not only learning what the solution architect is. I am going deep into each and every topic. The reason is this: you should have a complete understanding when you go at the job and you tell when the customer start talking to you, you are not blind there. तो वैसे तो ये जो मैंने अभी तक देखे हैं ऑनलाइन कोर्सेज जो करवा रहे हैं लोग या जिस तरह से भी हैं, वो सिर्फ ये बताते हैं डीएनएस सर्विस क्या होती है और फ्रॉड 53 क्या है, और ये दिस इज़ वन ऑफ द डीएनएस सर्विस जस्ट लाइक अदर्स, और इसके अंदर आप कैसे जो कन्फिग्रेशन कैसे करनी है, नहीं बल्कि कन्फिग्रेशन भी नहीं दिखा रहे, वो बता रहे हैं कि किस किस्म की कितने किस्म की राउटिंग होती है. So actually they should not be they should I say that's right actually, because solution architect को इतना ही जानना है कि ये सर्विस किसके लिए इस्तेमाल है, what is the use of this services. लेकिन मैं डीप ये बाकी जो मैं चीज़ें आपको बता रहा हूँ सिखा रहा हूँ, this should be learn is the part of the system administrator, जो टेक्निकल पार्ट है, जिन्होंने एक्चुअली जब actually going to create the record, going to create the website, they're going to create the host zone. This is not, you are not going to do this. लेकिन मैं इतनी डिटेल में इसलिए चाहता हूँ कि आपको कंप्लीट अंडरस्टैंडिंग हो, क्योंकि आप टेक्निकल टीम को भी इंटरेक्ट करेंगे वहाँ पे जाके. सो जब वो बात करे कि होस्ट जोन, आपको पता होना चाहिए होस्ट जोन क्या है, वो बात करे जोन फाइल की, तो आपको पता हो कि ये क्या बात कर रहा है. सो दैट्स वाई आई एम गोइंग इन टू द डीप इन एवरी टॉपिक. So inshallah tomorrow I will show you some demos. So I'll let you go. It's 1:30 already. ठीक है, मैं इंशाल्लाह फिर कल आपसे मुलाकात होती है. अब
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. Take care.
Thank you, sir. Khuda Hafiz.
Khuda Hafiz. Khuda Hafiz.